Nothing, Anish?
Sorry?
Nothing coming up yet?
No, it has come up.
It has?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was checking with you. Sorry. It hasn't shown me that it's live as well. A very good morning. Thank you very much for tuning in again to another episode of the Free Stream School. It's gone really, really well the last 2 weeks. And now that a lot of people are back at school today and tomorrow, hopefully there'll be more and more people tapping in. Just a reminder, please do share this. It's completely free, and we're going to be doing live lessons, English, maths and science, computing, media studies, PE, and we've just joined the splitting of, Spanish, and we've just joined the splitting of the sciences into different lessons with different teachers as well. And today we're going to have another volunteer joining us to do EFL. So please do share this. My name is Leon Hady. I'm a former head teacher. I was fortunate enough to lead a team to take a great bunch of people to the journey of outstanding with the school that we had, and I've just got a great bunch of friends who are great teachers, and we're all willing to just chip in and do this and give our time for obviously everyone else who's in need. And I'm hoping that my own kids sitting beside me in the room will actually take something and learn something from these lessons as well. So without further ado, I'll give you over to the main man, Mr. Action Jackson, the country's main motivator. A very good morning to you, Mr. Action. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Ian. How are you doing?
Yeah, no complaints. Whenever the sun's shining, I'm a happy man. I've been taking your advice and listening to music in the morning, so yeah.
Every day, so yeah, we like it. That's superb. Well, welcome everybody to Streaming School. My name is Action Jackson, your resident motivator, here to inspire you, to give you that inner drive to make it happen. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Free Streaming School. This is where it's happening. I'm so excited. And if you're coming back, welcome back. This school is designed to kind of give you everything you need to get to where you need to in your education. We're so privileged to be able to bring this to you wherever you are watching from. So do email us to let us know how this is changing your life, because the team's working hard behind the scenes. So as I normally do, I wake up every morning, and sometimes you're waking up like this, it's like, but then I go downstairs, I'm like, I make myself a cup of tea. Then I put on some music. Then all of a sudden, I'm feeling good. Now, you don't have to be the #1 dancer on the planet to be able to do this. Now, my favorite phrase is, I am amazing. If you've watched this several times, you know that we do this quite regularly. So all you got to do for me is just sort of like relax your shoulders, and the move is, I am amazing. What? Okay. I am amazing. This is the mantra for the brain. I am amazing. I can see you, come on. I am amazing. This is to get yourself programmed for success. I am amazing. And then you just running man on the spot, running man with a big cheesy grin on your face as well, like this. Running man. Here we go. Excellent stuff. Now, many people ask me, why do you start the day like that? Why are you always playing music? Well, I do that to program my brain, because there's no way you're going to be able to learn until you reset your brain. Most of the time, we go into a learning environment feeling down, feeling tired, feeling doubtful sometimes. But music is a good way to kick off the day. Very quickly, I'm going to share my screen so that I can share with you the psychology and the theory behind all of this. We're not just doing this because we like jumping up and down. There is actually a science to everything that I'm sharing with you today. So the phrase I am amazing is a phrase that I really am very much particular about, because how you think about yourself will determine how you see yourself. What you think will affect how you feel. So watch this. Your thoughts. Protect your thoughts. This is the foundation to motivation. This is the foundation to sadness as well. Because think about it. If you have a negative thought, it affects your emotions will affect your actions, and your actions will affect your results. So please always look after your thoughts. I will always cover this every time, so you don't forget. This is the psychology to happiness. This is the psychology to life. But today I want to share with you something quite interesting. Now, we don't know when the schools are going to go back, but when they do go back, you need to be ready. You need to be in the zone. That's why you're here at Free Streaming School, to get you equipped and ready for the future and the exams that are yet to come. So you're in a good place. Very quickly, I want to share 10 ways to fail your exams. You're like, whoa, I don't want to fail. Well, here's the thing. In life, you need to know what to avoid. So in at number 1, waste time on social media. Research has shown that students that waste time on social media are bound to fail because they're spending their time on the wrong things. So you've got to spend time on social media if you want to fail, that is. Number 2, get distracted. All distractions everywhere. Your phone, your family, TV, your negative thoughts. The more distracted you are, the more closer you are to failure. Number 3, don't ask for help. If you're stuck, don't ask for help. Because if you ask for help, you might get answers. If you get answers, you might just succeed. You don't want to do that, do you? Number 4, ignore the assignments. If you're given assignments, please ignore it. Because if you focus on an assignment, guess what happens? You become successful. You move one step forward. You don't want to do that, do you? Number 5, act like you don't care. Put aside your education. Who cares? Busy yourself on eating and relaxing and chilling with your friends. Number 6, pretend your exams are a long, long way away. Ignore it. Bury your head in the sand. That's the quickest way to fail. And number 7, ignore the teacher's instruction. Whatever they teach, ignore it. Number 8, make excuses for laziness. If you don't get the work done, we know it's because you were hungry that day and you fell asleep, and that was it. And number 9, I love this one. When the exams come, I want you to panic as much as you can. And number 10 is my favorite. Don't do this by yourself. Take as many people down with you. Now, oftentimes when I share it with students, we all laugh and we all think to ourselves, oh, wow, this is so funny. But the truth of the matter is this: over the last 20 years of doing this as a motivational speaker, these are some of the top 10 things I know that students frequently follow. They say to themselves they want to pass. But if you're watching this list right now, you're thinking to yourself, actually, I do a few of these. Well, if you look at this list and you know you do a few of these things, your task today, moving forward, is to take this list and one by one begin to cross them out and say, social media, you know what? I'm going to cut down my social media time. Getting distracted, my friends, there's nothing wrong with distractions, but guess what you do? You schedule your distractions. I love getting distracted by TikTok, but before I jump on TikTok, I make sure I do my work, okay? Ignoring the assignments. I know sometimes when we get assignments, we don't want to do it. I get it. But think about the consequences of not doing it. Acting like you don't care comes from fear, because most people are scared, so they want to numb that pain by saying, I don't care about it. But deep down inside, you do care. And that's why you are working towards it. Pretending that it's a long way away, no. Have your dates in place. Know when things are. Ignoring the teacher's instructions, it's a no-no. Take note. Write down every instruction you're given. Making excuses for laziness, we ain't got time for that. Nope. The next time you feel like making an excuse, step back and think to yourself, no, let me get it done first before I start making excuses. And then panicking, if you do 1 right through to 8, you shouldn't panic. You should not panic. And number 10, build yourself a dream team, because the stronger your team are, the stronger you will become. Don't do this by yourself. Have your power team behind you, and remember that you are amazing. Let me go back to that so you can feel it, so you know it. Each and every one of you, you're amazing. If you follow what I just taught you, make this your guideline to success. Avoid these 10 things, you're going to be okay. Watch this. Here we go. I am amazing. Come on. I am amazing. Let's go. I am amazing. And with that said, thank you so much for your time. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be able to work with you. Over to you, team.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you on TikTok, Instagram, and the rest of the day. Have a great afternoon, my friend. A very good morning to you, Michael.
Morning. How you doing?
I'm well, Mike. I'm well. Just actually having a look. Probably got about 100 odd people checking in right now. Obviously, people are looking in because the schools are actually back, and so people are looking to actually fill that gap with online learning. So please give a little introduction, if you don't mind me saying, that you're a fantastic English teacher and you've been teaching for a while. But just because a lot of people be tapping in for the first time today, please do introduce yourself. And I'm really looking forward to your lesson, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And so good morning, everybody. My name is, as you've already heard, is Michael. So I am a former head of English, a former assistant principal, been teaching for well over a decade now, A-level, GCSE and beyond, and obviously really enjoyed it. I also have a YouTube channel which has well over 2 million viewers and a large number of subscribers, principally to help you guys understand. I'm a bit of a lazy boy, really, so the idea here is to give you exactly what you need in as short a space as possible so you can reach your potential. But obviously all the hard work then is with you guys. So what we'll try and do during our time at Stream School together is to make sure that you have a firm basis of understanding in regards to the skills you need to demonstrate and the knowledge you need to show to get full marks in assessments, full marks in exams, but actually more importantly, just be better at English. Then at the end of each session, what we'll be able to do is to suggest tasks that you may wish to complete, some revision resources that Nish and Leon and the rest of the guys will show that you can access so that you're then able to go away and do the work yourself. So it's great that you're here, but actually it's only when we practice that we get better. So without further ado, Nish, do you mind showing my presentation, please?
All right, cool.
Thank you. So what I want to focus today on is a skill which is going to help you, if we're talking about language GCSEs, 50% of those results. What I'm going to focus on today, more importantly, is just being better as a writer. So we can see here on my screen, we have a green field. And we have that same image twice, so you haven't got blurred vision. So on one side, this field is emerald green. On the other side, this field is snot green. Now, it's the same field. What we're going to explore today is the power of the vocabulary and the way in which we as writers can create an impression of something in our heads. And the media do this really well all the time, but it's something we want to make sure we can do. Because what we're going to focus in today on is our descriptive writing. Now, as many of you know, if we're looking at our GCSE preparation, we get a choice of narrative writing, which is basically a story, or we get a choice of descriptive writing. Take a picture and describe it. But how do we do that? That's actually quite tough. So today, we're going to look at how we achieve that. So we're going to know, at the end of our time together, how to create a perfect piece of descriptive writing. And we're also going to understand how we can improve our own writing as well. The two key elements here, if you do everything that I'm telling you to do today and you practice, I guarantee you'll see vast improvements in your work already. So what we have here is an image. Now, typically, when we've looked at, for example, some of the AQA specifications in the past, sometimes they give you just a face. Sometimes it isn't as easy as having a whole image here. But quite often, the title will always be the same. You'll always get some kind of task which says, you've been entered in a descriptive writing competition, or something as trivial as that, or, you know, can you now basically write a description for the image that you see? So how do we go about taking a whole image like this and then creating a piece of coherent, full mark writing? Well, here is our method. And again, what I would say is, please, if you're watching this back, feel free to pause it, take notes, take screenshots. Resources will be made available for you afterwards. But let's talk through some of the method now. So, as always, we read the question carefully, and we make sure to underline the key parts of the question. And that's really important because time and time again, I've been an exam marker for GCSE literature, and there's been many, many times where, for example, I've been marking essays for Mrs. Burling for Inspector Calls, and there'll always be a few students to write a perfect essay, but for Mr. Burling. And obviously that's hit their marks hard. So always read the question carefully and underline key parts. Then what we need to do is we need to look at the image. And first of all, what we need to do is here, well, what impression do you get of that image? So when you see this, do you see something positive overall as a tone? Do you see something negative overall as a tone? Or is it mixed? And I would note that down because your descriptions need to create that. Is this a field which is emerald green, or is this a field which is snot green? That is up to you. Then what we do around the picture is we begin to identify aspects that you wish to describe. So it should be a mixture of larger aspects, so the whole scene, it could be a whole person, a whole building, and we can also zoom in. So for example, one of the features you might want to zoom in upon could be the hair on a character's arm. It could be the individual blades of grass in a field. You know, all these things are great creative writing techniques. Once you've done that, you should number them. And then you want to place them in an order that you want to write about. So as always, and this is a good tip, it's always an excellent idea to return to the first element that you described at the end of your writing. Why do that? Well, one, it's a nice dovetail. It creates great whole text structure. So, as you know, when we're looking to become a great writer, sometimes creating some kind of cyclical structure, we come back to the start, is more complex. But actually, if we're thinking about assessments and hoops we jump through, creating a strong ending is as important as creating a strong beginning to your task as well. So we can see, here is an example of what I've done. And again, feel free to pause this whenever you wish. Now, I know I've got more than 6, but obviously 6 would be a minimum. And it depends on what you can do in the time. And the only way you're going to know what you can do in the time is by practicing. So we can see here, number 1, I've created a sense of this being a calm place, and I'm going to describe the seagulls. And you can see here, I've also included some vocabulary which I want to use. So again, emerald green, snot green, or here, majestic, and lap suggests calming. And notice, I'm going to come back to that same image. Then we can see I move across the trees. Because what we're trying to do with a descriptive writing piece is create a moving image in time. You almost want to imagine that the scene has been paused, but it's just at that moment still moving. And what you're doing as a great writer is basically you almost have to pretend you're writing for someone who is blind. Your description is moving them across the image, and the words you use to help to create that description bring that image to life for someone who's never seen it before. So we can see I move from the water across to the trees, and again, utopian, gorgeous, and then again, move now to the people. I'm talking about a sense of camaraderie, and it's delightful. I zoom away, I go to the Brooklyn Bridge, and again, now making the cars and the commuters seem like soft rumblings. Notice I'm not talking about the disgusting smog and things like that that appear. So I'm making an emerald green field here, not a snot green field. But as you will see now, I actually change that tone. So I move now across the clouds, and I create a sense of being dark and sinister and twisted. So I'm using the opposite use of the senses that we saw in the previous examples. And again, you can see now how I'm making this piece slightly more complex. I then move to expressions on the people's faces. So I zoom into their faces. And you can see here, I now take a little bit of license with this, for this example. I'm obviously now talking about the people on the other side. So I would say when we get to point 7, my caveat here is I know it's not in the description, but obviously please bear that in mind in your own writing. And then we talk about the plane itself. If you haven't already guessed, you know, this is a sad image taken from 9/11, but it highlights the contrast between those that were involved and those that were not. Now that we've got our plan, we now need to remember what is included to create strong piece of writing or grade 9 piece of writing. Now, this is a spider diagram that I know Leon loves because the way in which I have structured it is obviously extremely pleasing to the eye, but it does the job. So what I would say once again here is, please feel free to pause this, because these are the skills you need to demonstrate when you undertake any piece of writing, whether that's a letter, a speech, a newspaper report, a piece of creative writing, narrative, or description. If you are doing all of these things, you will achieve high marks. What will be important is for you to remember this. So quite often, students will say, oh, but you can't revise for language. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. 1, you can practice answering the question. 2, it's your method. So again, remember, content, method, timing. So content, what are the things you need to know? So for a language, it's things like the length of the exam paper, the number of questions. Method, how do you answer each question? If you cannot tell me how to answer each question in the exam paper to get full marks, you're not ready. And then timing, can you write your response using the method in the time you're given? If you do all 3 of those things perfectly, you will get perfect marks. So for example, here for strong writing, 1, we plan our response, and we've done that together. Then we need to make sure that we use a variety of sentence starters, not just then. A variety of sentence types, simple, compound, complex. Also, We need to make sure the work has a variety of punctuation for impact. So if I'm trying to highlight a strong sense of emotion, we'll use that exclamation mark. We also need to remember that we're trying to jump through hoops if we're thinking about exams. So whilst it may not always feel natural to use semicolons, brackets, commas, dashes in your work, for an exam, we're showing off. So you need to show someone who has never met you and will only ever meet you potentially this once, how strong you are. We've spoken already about vocabulary. We know, of course, you can spell words correctly. So if you're someone that sometimes finds it a little bit tricky to get the spelling correct, well, again, revise some key vocabulary you want to use. Have a list of about 20 words which cover different types of emotion, which you can then learn and use in your exam, so you know you won't get it wrong. Our paragraphs need to be cohesive, which means it needs to link all the way through. It needs to be sustained as well. So remember when we were talking about the end of your piece reflecting on the start of the piece? Well, that shows that you have kept the work as strong at the end as you have at the start. We obviously want to make sure we proofread, because when we're proofreading, not only are we checking for mistakes, but we're looking at it as if we are now the examiner. So have you included all of these elements? And if you're looking at your work and you think, well, actually, I've used a lot of the same sentence starter, well, by proofreading it, you'll know to change it. So if you look at your work and you know you've achieved something which is below standard, well, that shows you've revised, and that then lets you know you need to change it. And finally, be interesting. Have fun with the work. Now, you are potentially student number 200 of 270 for an exam marker. For your teacher, the teacher could be marking for a good couple of hours, and believe me, it does take hours to go through a set of people, the students' work. If your piece is interesting, if you have fun with it, then the marker will enjoy it more, and it's far more likely to give you higher marks than potentially true. So let's now look at an example together. So here is that same image, but now in written form. What we're going to do is we're going to read through this, and I'm going to highlight to you the different parts of the picture. So point number one was the idea of the water and the seagulls. So it was a glorious day. The calm waters that gently against the peaceful shoreline, whilst pleasant seagulls bobbed on the tranquil waves, as other seagulls, seabirds, soared on the warm air that caressed their majestic wings. Now again, immediately we've got different types of sentences taking place here. We've got variety of vocabulary for effect, but notice where we have a noun, so waves, seagulls, day, we never leave that noun on its own. We are using adjectives, or we could call them a pre-modifier. So again, anything that comes before a word to modify, to change it, is a pre-modifier. If I wrote the day was glorious, well, now the modifier is after the noun. It becomes a post-modifier. So that's a little tip for you when you're doing the reading section of an exam. If you can't remember if it's a noun, adjective, or a verb, or whatever it might be, if it comes before the noun, call it a pre-modifier. If it comes after, call it a post-modifier. But anyway, let's now move on. So we can see we're moving across on our image. On land, this pleasant theme continued. So notice how we are making cohesive paragraphs. They are linking, it's flowing through. Water flows, writing is cohesive. The trees shifted lightly in the breeze, creating a soothing noise, which was pleasant to the ear. Colourful flowers added this utopian feeling by releasing gorgeous scents, which filled the nostrils with the smell of delightful summer. So can you see how we plan to use utopian? We plan to use gorgeous, and we've put them in our work. We're ticking the boxes for our vocabulary as well. Let's see if we maintain that sense of cohesion and structure. Sitting within this image, people sat and socialized. Some lay along the sea wall, gazing up at the fluffy white clouds, trying to establish whether they saw a smiling face or a small puppy, although it didn't really matter. Notice that we're using a variety of punctuation there. Others relaxed in their cafe chairs, sipping delightfully from their fresh mugs. Not disgusting mugs, not snot green mugs. These are fresh emerald green mugs. We get the idea, that tone we're trying to create. The warm coffee, as it entered their being, revitalized their sun-beaten skin after their successful journey on their bike. Although they had all arrived separately, the nature of the day created a feeling of camaraderie, which had caused them to begin discussing how lucky they were to be sitting in this place and enjoying the world around them. They all agreed they would rather be here than anywhere else in the world right now. Indeed, if you took the time to shift your head from your reverie, which means dream, you would notice that every single face had joy etched across it. Now, one thing to consider here is that when we do narrative writing, people tend to use the first person. That's great. When you're doing descriptive writing, it's easy to think of descriptive writing as in the third person. If you took the time, you would notice. And that's a way in which you can ensure you're describing rather than being involved in the action of the actual text itself. Away from this picturesque moment in time, so again, you can hear we're shifting your focus, we're turning your head like a film director would to a different part of the scene. The sounds of passing vehicles along the Brooklyn Bridge actually seem to add to the blissful day as the soft rumblings of the commuters mirrored the soft rumbling of the waves against the seawall. The bridge's appearance, apostrophe please, we proofread, rather than disturbing the view that nature had created, almost seemed to form a beautiful link between man, who called New York home, and nature, the original owner of the terrain. This was proof that man and nature could live happily together, that all good things come to an end. So we've got a single sentence paragraph, which is a really great way of getting extra marks in your exam. But notice it also highlights our shift now. Whilst trying to ascertain whether the cloud looked like his old pet dogs, we go back to that idea of the puppy. A man who had previously been full of the warmth of the environment notices that his fluffy white cloud had now become dark, sinister, and twisted. We also notice that the gorgeous smell of pollen had been replaced by the smell of death and despair. So alliteration being used there as well, the repetition of the D sounds. You also notice the soothing sound of the waves been overcome by the terrifying sound of screaming, anguished, and desperate individuals. As well, trilate structure. We also then talk about the gorgeous smell of the pollen and showed how that's been replaced. We've also talked about the sound being gentle, and now it's been replaced by screaming, anguished, and desperate individuals. And the piece goes on. We then explore in this moment here the expressions of people and their confusion. We then move in to looking at the city itself and the feelings of people before looking at the plane itself. And then at the end, after hours of this continuing chaos, after hundreds of bodies have fallen to their deaths, and after billions of tears have been shed, zooming in for detail, the sounds of murder became silent, and all that could be heard were the gentle waves lapping against the sea wall, while seagulls bobbed slowly up and down in the water. Denise, do you mind ending the presentation for moving to my face, please?
All right, cool.
Thank you. So, what have we explored today? We explored a couple of things today. One, we have considered the elements involved in creating strong full mark, if that's what you're interested in pieces of writing. We've then looked at descriptive writing itself. How do we plan a piece of descriptive writing? How do we then execute that plan? And we've seen that together today. Now, if you wish to, you are more than welcome to review any of the materials that have been used in today's session, and there are some further revision videos which you can explore on this topic. You may also wish to have a go yourself. Take a picture similar to one that you've seen here and have a go at planning. If we're thinking typically most exams are giving you around 45 minutes, give yourself about 5 or 10 minutes to plan. Give yourself around 35 minutes then to write your answer and to proofread. So that's been really useful. Again, my name is Michael. I'm looking forward to seeing the majority of you, if not all of you, and more again on Wednesday for more of a literature focus. So thank you guys. It's been a real pleasure working with you today.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really, really appreciate it, buddy. So I have some idea of what you're up to for the rest of the day, so I won't even ask. Yeah, really, thank you so much for chipping in on that. And Nish, I will hand over to you.
All right, cool. So here is the optional task for English today. There is an extract from, I believe it's The Woman in Black, and I will obviously put the link to that on Facebook and YouTube. And there are 2 questions. Both have the both have the marks on here as well. Number of marks that they will give you. So the first one is to read the first part of the source from lines 1 to 5, and list 4 things about the day from this part of the source, and that is worth 4 marks. And then the second question is look in detail at the extract from lines 1 to 12 of the source, and that will be worth 8 marks. There is more information on the link that I will put up on Facebook and YouTube, so that will help you answer the questions to give you the 8 marks. As always, if you want to catch up on any of the videos, if you've missed anything, they will be on Facebook and on YouTube, and the resources will be on there as well. Up next today, we have maths.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Thank you so much, Nish, as ever. I will see you again in about, 20 minutes. I think we ended perfectly on time. We're actually going to get off perfectly on time. It's the first time ever, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Brilliant. Have a great morning, my dear. I'll see you in 20 minutes.
You too.